I'd like to talk about the emerald crab. The emerald crab is a fantastic algae eater in the reef aquarium. One of the few that actually eats bubble algae, and it also ate my turf algae, which are extremely tough algae to remove, usually because they stick on really hard, or they spread as you remove it. Now, the emerald crab ate all of these and more. So, if I was to give my emerald crab a score on 1 to 10 of how well it eats algae, I'd give it a 10. It eats everything. My tank, the only algae that's left in my tank is the algae that you have to scrub off the aquarium glass, which is really good. Now, there is some negatives about the emerald crab. Well, one, all invertebrates, I'd say, are scavengers, and they will eat whatever falls on the bottom of the tank. So, this is a good thing, as it will clean up whatever extra food you have. But there's also some negative effects, such as when you're feeding coral. Now, what happened to me was I decided to target feed my Duncan coral. And my Duncan coral happily accepted the food like it normally does. Except the emerald crab, this being the scavenger it is, decided to take the food from my Duncan coral. Most invertebrates generally do this though. So it's something to pay attention for when choosing invertebrates. The difference between an emerald crab though and some of the other invertebrates with smaller pincers is that emerald crab pincers are relatively large. And this means when it was stealing the food from my Duncan coral, it ripped a large hole in the Duncan coral. So my Duncan coral has recovered, but it's something to think about when choosing to get an emerald crab into the tank. Now, the next thing I want to know people to notice on getting an emerald crab is when I first introduced it, it did pick on my finger leather, and it removed quite a bit of its flesh. Well, it damaged the coral. And I can't tell you if it removed it because of something tasty on it, or maybe there was a pest on it that it removed, but it came at a cost of damaging the coral. I don't know. But when I had my finger leather, it picked at it for quite a while and left quite a bit of damage. Now, the emerald crab has never touched it since. So, this is another thing that you should consider when grabbing an emerald crab. And this is not the first time I've seen this with the emerald crabs either. When they're first introduced into the tank, they usually pick on a coral. I've seen one of Inappropriate Reefer's videos where his emerald crab picked on his cocoa worm rock or Xmas tree worm rock or Parides coral. And it left quite a bit of damage too. But after that first instance of picking on the coral, they never touched it again. I don't know why they do that, but it is something to consider when getting an emerald crab. They have just a weird tendency to pick on a single coral and leave it alone forever. Now, when getting an emerald crab, you might also want to consider how you're going to remove this crab if it does cause problems. Like all, I'd say, lives in your tank, most of them have different personalities, I'd say. And some might be more aggressive than others, and it might not be suitable for your tank. So my experience that I have with my emerald crab might be an experience that someone else never experienced with their emerald crab. For some, it might be emerald crab might have destroyed all their corals in the tank. And for others, an emerald crab might have never touched a coral in the tank. It really comes down to the crab itself, and all crabs are different. So if you're getting an emerald crab, I recommend being ready with a way to remove them before you introduce them to your tank.